Hello.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sajja, I can hear. Good morning.
Okay, great. Yeah, meeting recording has started. I think we are good to start the session.
Yes.
Great. So, Nitin, I'm going to share the screen. Let me know when you're able to see my screen. Okay.
Sure, sir. Yes, sir. The screen is visible
Yeah.
to me.
Do you see Big Data Hadoop demo session?
Yes.
Awesome. So, thank you for making it early morning on a Sunday, Nitin. And my slideshow is starting now. All right. So we are here together for a quick session on on big data Hadoop demo. I am already assuming that you know a little bit of data science and all, right? You there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, before we go ahead, I will quickly, give you my introduction. Who's going to be your trainer? I'm Sheldra Grover, data scientist, and I practice Agile Scrum Master and a Master Black Belt in Six Sigma. And I'm a certified person in all three. My total industry experience is more than 25 years in different areas like IT, learning and development, project or program management, quality assurance, and quality control. I worked with companies like NIT, CMC, Wipro, HCL, and US Tech Solutions. Almost 100 plus IT and quality projects I have done and trained close to 8,000 students and 500 trainers and managers, right? So that's my introduction, and let's begin from here.
Yes.
Now, what do you see on the screen?
An elephant. I think it's a big Hadoop elephant.
Okay, good. As you said, it's an elephant, and awesome. You also said that it's a big Hadoop elephant. So, have you ever seen yellow elephant in life?
Yes. When I try to search something about the Hadoop at that time.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
great. So, actually, in stuffed toys, you can see yellow elephant. Am I right? Probably on Archie's or some other stuffed toy showroom, right?
Yeah.
But live elephants we have not seen. And yes, you're right. At this point in time, Big Hadoop is in your mind, and if you search on net, then definitely you see this yellow elephant. So this yellow elephant, I would tell you, is actually the stuffed toy of the daughter of the creator of Hadoop, right? Who's duck cutting. Now, this elephant is going to stay with us throughout. You will be learning your big do. So, would also like to know a bit about you. I am going to show you what is expected out of you as your intro. Could you please quickly type in these three things, which is your name, your total experience, and what you want to do after you have completed Hadoop, or what are your expectations, right? So these three things you can put in your chat box so that I can have an idea that what you are planning and why you have joined this, right? So that would be actually trainees intro. Can I have it? Great, Nitin. So I can see that you have 6.5 years of experience, and you're looking for growth in terms of course, money, if I'm not wrong. Great. So, and you are definitely going to get this after you do data science, or in data science, big Hadoop. It is very much in the market and in demand. Okay, so let me first tell you that after you know what all you are going to cover um, in this course. So after we complete introduction to big data and Hadoop, we would be learning how to install Cloudera, and we'll have an overview on that, which is actually going to be the sorry software on which we would be practicing or doing hands-on for big data. We would be doing Hadoop distribution file system and MapReduce, and after that we'd be doing lots of Apache tools like Yarn, Scoop, Flume, Hive, Impala, Pig, HBase, Uzi, Zookeeper, Spark. All these are going to be practiced on Cloudera. Okay, and these are the tools which are there in Hadoop. Now, along with these, you would also be practicing some, your learnings through quiz. You'd be given some assignments, and finally, we would be completing one project. One project could be multiple projects depending on the situation, right? Now, today's agenda is going to be how it came into picture, and what exactly is big data, and why we need big data and its characteristics. We'll discuss some use cases, or we know some use cases. Then we would be discussing challenges with big data and what is the solution to big data challenges. I will not be getting into more details in introduction to Hadoop today. I'll just show you one snapshot on the architecture of Hadoop and the ecosystem of Hadoop. In next sessions, or when you join, we can actually get into more details. So today's major agenda would be introduction to big data. Okay. So we will keep this class interactive. You can speak also, and you can put your things in chat also. I'd be looking into chats time to time. All right. So what I want to know from you is, I mean, do you have an idea how it might have come into the picture? You can answer yes, no. Yeah. So my question is, do you have an idea that how it might have come into the picture? Right. Not much. So let's understand it like that. What do you see on the screen? Yeah, a mobile phone. Okay. And let me make it more precise. It's a smartphone in your hand. Now, what do you do when the mobile phone is in your hand? What are all things you keep doing on your smartphone? You can speak also, Nitin. As you are the only one today in this demo class, I think we can speak to each other.
So in the smartphone, probably we will use Facebook, LinkedIn, Gmail,
Okay.
and lots of other applications as well.
Right. Now, if I ask you a question now, like you do something on Facebook, you do some chatting, you do some browsing and all. Now, when you are typing in something, what is happening? Where's that data going?
I think it's stored somewhere on the server of the application server.
Okay, on the application server, right?
Like Facebook is an application, so on the Facebook server, data is stored too.
Okay, okay, great. What do you look at your screen now? Have you, I mean, it resembles what? This third picture, which this one.
I think
Heard about.
it's something about cloud networking or something like that.
Very good. So cloud is a very popular thing which we keep hearing. So all your data is going into cloud, right? So in a day, what do you think how much data you're passing to cloud and how much data your friends are passing to cloud? Do you have any wild guess?
I'm not sure actually.
A
I'm a
lot.
bit, yeah,
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 a lot.
data, yes.
Right, so because day in day out everybody is doing something or the other in smartphone. When we are traveling in metro, you see everybody sitting with a smartphone, either chatting, talking, or typing something. Everything is getting into cloud, and it's not only from smartphone, it is also getting into cloud from lots of other sources, right? So, cloud is actually something which is storing the data. But can I say it is storing just data or it is big data?
Again, I am not sure the difference between data and big data. So,
Okay. So it will be big data, right? Big means a lot, right? So when
okay,
we're talking about big, that means huge, right? If I go by
right.
literal meaning, then it means that it's huge data. So when I say that there's a lot of data which is being generated by us, then a lot of data is also getting into cloud, right? Now, um, now if you look at this, this is some stats which I have picked from net after googling. So what I see is that every 60 seconds, that is 1 minute, almost 98,000 plus tweets roll right to cloud, and 695,000 status updates go, 1 million instant messages go, 698,445 Google searches, 168 million plus emails are sent, and new mobile web users, and some data in TV is created, right? So it is beyond our imagination. So it is just 1 minute. Okay. And then we're talking about in a day, you straight away, multiply by 24 and then 60, right? So if you just look at it, there's a big data, right? It's a big data. Okay. So big data became an a field in itself. In IT, it became one field, and with this social media and research and other stuff, actually big data came into the picture, right? So here we understand that what was the reason which actually brought big data into the picture, and then lots of other stuff, right? So now we are good to define big data here. If you look at the screen, there are 4 5 bullet points which precisely define what big data and the field is about. So, large volumes of human or machine generated, structured, semi structured, and unstructured data. It is very important to understand for us what is structured, unstructured, and semi structured data. Now, as you've already worked with RDBMS and you are versed with some other softwares, uh, can you think of what structured data could be, or you already know? Can you comment on that?
So, Selja, I believe the structured data is something which is stored in a specific format, or like in some kind of a defined format.
Okay,
And unstructured is something which is just randomly store the data without any sort of definitions or anything.
Okay, good. You're very near. And if I get into technical stuff, then I can say that structured data is that kind of data which can be, relationally connected and is in a format like we have in Excel, like we have in Access, like we have in SQL, right? So these are, databases, structured data, right, which actually we keep using day in and day out. Now, when we talk about unstructured data, then we are talking about the images, then we're talking about, the videos. They do not have any structure as such, but that falls under unstructured data, right? Now, when we talk about semi-structured data, then we are talking about the data which is, of course, which is not structured, which is not unstructured, but things like XML, JSON files, which you're already aware, that falls under semi-structure, right? Which is a format which is referring to either structured data or unstructured data, like HTML. It is part of semi-structured data. So, do you have any question on these three terms? Because these are very important to understand when we're talking about big data, because that is one of the characteristics of big data, that it can, for the data can, flow in whatever structure, whether no structure or, hybrid, semi-structure. Okay, right? You
Right.
clear on it?
So,
Okay. Then second point is it comes in high volumes and also high speed, right? So like you and me are chatting, or at the moment we are on a, on a meeting. So if you look at it, we are not waiting to hear. What I'm speaking is a voice, right? It's an audio. It is straight away reaching you, in no seconds, right? As if we're talking to each other face to face, right? So you can understand the high speed of the data flow, right? You're sitting in one corner of India, and I'm here in Delhi, right? So what is happening? In no speed, this voice data is flowing, and screen which I've shared, that is also data which is flowing to you, right? If I don't have network connection, or internet is not working for you, then probably we are not connected. But you can imagine how fast through cloud things are being shared, and they are reaching to both of us, right? So it is high volume and high speed as well. Now, it also requires complex processing, right? So, big data, when we have big data in three different structures, right, which is coming in high speed, would also require complex processing. It also has a potential to be mined for information. That means you can do multiple things to gather the information out of that. It is used in machine learning projects and other advanced analytics applications. So here machine learning projects would be getting into details later, but I would like to talk a little bit about analytics here. I would like to know from you uh, if if you know anything about analytics.
so Sally, for me, analytics is basically doing some sort of analysis on data and take out some output from the data.
Okay, Nitin, great. Uh, when you say analysis on data, right? Then then I would not agree with you fully. Uh, Analysis and analytics actually are used parallel in the market, but they are different altogether, right? So when I talk about analysis, then we're just talking about some reports created out of the data, right, which is available to you. When we're talking about analytics, then actually you're making some predictions from the analyzed data, probably, or some data which you have on basis which you're trying to make some predictions. So that part falls under analytics, right? So analysis and analytics are two different words with two different meanings. So in analysis part, we are inferring the information from the data with us, and analytics, we are making predictions, right, from the data which is available. Okay, so there are lots of analytics applications like Tableau, like or we have statistical tools, right? We have visualization tools, BI or Tableau, which are being used to present the analysis, and then some statistical tools or other stuff which can help you do some analytics on the data. So the big data is a big source actually of the advanced analytics. Okay, so we would be getting into more details, you know, during the course of our duration of our course, right? So, any questions on this slide?
No, sir.
Okay. Now let's understand why we need big data. I've already shown you the screen. Probably it would be giving you some hint. Would you like to tell me what do you understand from here? What do you think like it is important for us to, you know, get to even have the big data manipulation or big data field?
I believe, Sanja, this is because to make some business decisions using the data, like once we analyze the data, decide something.
Right. So you're right that basically we need data to make some business decisions, right? Now here the question is that how big data is important in today's world to make business decisions, right? So if you look at the you know, the image which is shown on the screen, then it says we're talking about old school. That means when big data was not there, then it was hippo driven strategy. So hippo is highest paid person's opinion. So what used to happen when you had a group of leaders, then the person on the top, right, his strategy was followed and his decisions mattered to everybody, right? Now how that person was making the decision, it was, the decisions were based on gut feeling, right? It was institutional knowledge. Okay. Sorry, so that was actually not based on any data or something. So it was on some analysis which was done, right? And there was not any data, much big data, to justify that why those decisions were taken. But with the change of time, with big data into the picture, then the decisions were, you know, smarter decisions. Then data warehouses had big data, and the data was live, right? Data was real, and data was not very old. It was a real time data from web, from from users, from customers, and from everybody in the market, like from vendors, from you know, from manufacturers, and from different people. And sentiment analysis was also done on that, and basis that the decisions, business decisions were made, right, or are being made today. Now this you know, gut feeling is not vanished 100%. It is there, but then it is also supported by this big data, right? And the data science, which is like a deep, which gives you deep business insight, right, which is hidden in data, which, as you said, that we analyze and understand, and then actually smarter decisions are taken in the business. And of course, if the decisions are smarter, we're talking about high profitability, right, and better results. Okay, so this is how big data is helpful. Now, here I'd like to take one example, or rather, I would like to ask one example where you feel that companies are taking smarter decisions. Can you tell me? Or you might have seen something where company might have used real-time big data and you were benefited out of it.
So, Sanja, I don't have any personal experience, but as per my understanding, I thought like in a manufacturing industry, when a company launches a product, they did research work based on the data, like where is the maximum sale of the product. So these type of decisions they made based on some analysis on the data.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Probably you have experienced this, and you might be experiencing it almost every day without realizing that it is becoming or it is coming to you because of that. Because it has become part of our life, and sometimes we are not realizing that what kind of technology is being supported or supporting this kind of a result. So you go to shopping malls, online shopping malls like Amazon,
Yes.
Flipkart, yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. So if you have gone there, you might have experienced that whatever you search, right? First of all, similar choices, they start falling immediately on your screen. Your ads are also similar to what you're trying to search. Am I right? Right. So
Yes. Right.
that is from the sentiment analysis, right? From your searches. Okay. Can you connect now? Because sometime also happens. Let me take an example that we are in India. We do puja, right? We worship, and sometimes there are certain things. For example, cow dung cakes, right? Uplas, we call it, right? So when Amazon was launched in India, do you think that the Amazon was selling uplas also on the site? No, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. But today you can order that and you can get that, right? So when Amazon came to India, then it came with a basic research. But when people started searching things on Amazon, right, then they started adding those things, right? I remember that initially when Amazon was had launched in India, then sometimes if I was searching few things, it will not show, right? But just 2 days after the same day, right, if I search the same product, then for sure I will get it on Amazon. This was the record, right? This is how they very quickly took over lots of online sites in India, right? And suddenly Amazon was the most popular site or online shopping mall in India also, right? So all that is being done with the help of big data, and both analysis and analytics is used here, right? Can you now give me any other example? Can you think of any other example which you might have, seen or experienced apart from this shopping malls?
I cannot sell any other example is not possible.
Okay, so have you? I'm sure you might have gone to Big Bazaar or other shopping malls, right?
Yes,
So if you step in, yeah, if you step in some shopping mall, have you ever experienced any specific messages coming to you of your favorite stores?
yes.
Yes.
Like kind of discounted messages.
Right. So you're right. That also is being done by big data. So, of course, when I talk about Nitin, right, then probably the data you generate might not be that big, right? But like you, the stores have got a lot of, a lot of people around, right? Or a lot of prospects, I should say, and they collect the data and do sentimental analytics for all to generate or market their products like that, right? They understand your choices, and then you start getting messages or ads about that. Okay, so this is how big data is used. Now we will be talking about characteristics of big data. Now it is popular with uh, V's, right? The characteristics of big data, they start with V. It initially started with three V's, but then IBM added fourth V also, and now every company bases their need, they are adding more V's. So market has also, I've seen like it has gone to six, or some of them have made it eight V's also. But still date, three are the basic. It started with three. And if a company is getting into big data, or is trying to launch, or get into Hadoop or other big data applications, right, then they should be actually looking at three major V's, right, and then decide whether they should get into big data or not. All right. So if you look at the screen, then the four V's are very clear. We little bit talked about volume. Then we also talked about variety in terms of structured, non-structured, and semi-structured data. And then we also a little bit talked about velocity, and that was like high data and big data, right? Or volume of the data, right? So we would talk about these three are the basic three V's which actually make the data as big data, or uh, makes big data as a field, right? And the fourth V, veracity, which has been added, which actually talks about uncertainty of the data. So when I talk about uncertainty of the data, then we're talking about there is a possibility of a lot of noise, means which is not a relevant data, or data probably could be incomplete, or it could be biased. Biased means is not actually correct data, or there is some issues with the authentication of the data. Probably it is not coming from the right resources. So that is about the veracity. But there are the basic 3, right, which is volume, where we're talking about a lot of data coming into the picture, which is in the right hand side corner, you can see one small pyramid which talks about how big the data can be, right? So we have heard about
Right.
DB, we have heard about terabyte also, right? So if it is 70, 80, 90 terabytes, today are basic tools like Excel and SQL, they are able to handle them. And if there is no variety, then probably you can manage everything with this. But then if the data is getting into hundreds of TB, right? And you getting, you must get into Hadoop, and you have the variety and you have the velocity, then it is important for you to get into big data. You have to launch big data in your company. Okay. So, if 70, 80 terabyte and plus data, right, with variety and velocity, right, it calls for implementation of big data, right? So you can get into it. But if a company does not have variety, does not have velocity, and is in terabytes, right, 2-digit terabytes, then it's good for the company to continue the conventional system only, right? So, but if the data is getting into petabytes or exabytes or zettabytes or yottabytes, then it is important for the company to get into big data industry, or launch big data, or transform to big data, right? And then a variety we have talked, it could be simple tables, it could be database, it could be photos, audios, videos, and some sensor data, or any mobile, right? And if I just simply say it in technical terms, then we're talking about structured data, we're talking about semi-structured data, and we're talking about unstructured data. Now, in velocity, uh, velocity deals with whether the data is real time, or it's periodic, or it's near real time, right? Or it is in batch, right? Uh, and then I've already talked about velocity. Now, Nathan, if you have any question, or if you want to discuss about it, then we can go ahead and continue on this screen, right? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next screen.
No, sir. I'm okay for now.
All right, Nitin. So let me move on to the next part of it. I've tried to gather some use cases, right? We talk, we discuss, and we've taken simple examples. But we also need to understand if there are any other companies or any other use cases where it is being used. So science is actually one place where it is used a lot. Rather, it was generated from here only. So you might have heard about this company, which is LHC, Large Hadron Collider, right? They are into, research for molecules and all. Boxon molecule, if you have heard about it. I'm not a science student, so would not be able to, elaborate much on it. But whatever little I understand that there are, uh, thousands of, data, GB data, which, in few seconds, which gets created, right? So, for them to assess, analyze, and get into analytics for their research, right? So their velocity of generation, right, or volume of generation is 1 petabyte, right? And in our last screen, we have already seen that 1000 of terabyte or 1024 TB actually is 1 petabyte. So if we look at this kind of velocity here, in 1 second, only HSC generating 1 petabyte of data to do the research work. Same thing if you look at NASA, which is very popular. Uh, it is 1.73 gigabyte right per hour is what they are generating. And if you look at some government institutes like NSA, which is Eura Data Center, they are generating data in yottabytes, right? And then one very popular example, which is Barack Obama's successful re-election of 2012, he had made use of big data to win that. And probably Trump might have done the same, but I'm not sure. Then looking at the private industry like eBay, Facebook, they are also generating 40, 50, 60 petabyte of Hadoop clusters, right? And probably by the time we are discussing about by the time we complete our course, uh, the new stats might have generated, and this data would be pretty old, and then probably this 1 petabyte might have gone to 1.5 petabyte per second, or NASA would be like 2 plus gigabyte and so on, right? So it is generating or being used in such a fashion that it is day on day, hour on hour, I would say, is increasing and changing, right? Now, let's see what are the challenges with big data, right? What do you think would be the challenges with big data?
The major challenge, I think, Selja, is the different types of data. Like it's sometimes it is in the form of videos, comments, likes, and yeah. So the major problem is the type of data is different.
Right. So if I look at the characteristics of big data, then I would say all the four characteristics which I see on the screen now are the challenges for processing the data. Do you agree with me?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? If I talk about volume, right, then uh, as you told me that, or whatever little I know about you, you are into PMO, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
there you are using Excel to do the analysis, right?
yes.
Now, in Excel, when you have a lot of data, right? Then what happens? Have you ever faced any challenge with huge data, right? Or more than usual data with Excel? If you give
Yeah,
it, yeah,
sometimes we have some data which is difficult to handle in MS Excel.
correct. Because
The quantum of
it
data
gets
is
into
huge.
hang, yeah,
Yes,
it
yes,
starts hanging, right?
yes,
You cannot, share it with lots of people, right? It starts playing nasty, and
yes.
it remains the reliability of the sheet becomes a big question, right? So, so there are, in our data, when it does not fall under big data, we face such challenges, right? Then you can understand that big data, when we have in petabytes or terabytes, right? Then what kind of difficulties it will fall under. So if I look at the challenges, one is data storage. How do store such huge data which is growing minute on minute or second on second, then how to process it, that is also a big challenge, because the data is dynamic, right? So it is increasing. And if you think about processing the data, then uh, the kind of variety we have in the data, the kind of volume we have in the data, the way it is growing, right? It is high speed data, then it is a challenge in itself. Then generating insights in a timely manner, right? You sort data processing, you also sort the issues of dealing with data growth, you also sort the issues with data storage, right? But then whether we are able to generate the insights in time or not, otherwise it will have no meaning, right? And then integrating disparate data, which is which is coming from different sources, you also need to integrate that. Then validation of the data, and to do everything, cost comes into the picture, right? So I would say every characteristic of the big data is one challenge in itself, and then dealing with in terms of processing, validating, and checking authentication and storing and everything is a problem, right? But can you think of a solution? What system can help us, right, to deal with all the challenges? Let's talk about data storage. Now, if you have data storage issue, what will you do? Say say you have a laptop, you have a tab, you have your phone, and suddenly you have lots of movies which you want to store, right? What will you do?
So I think I buy another hard drive, external hard drive, and store my data in that hard drive for future use.
Okay. So when your hard drive is finished, right, and you want to store more movies, then what will you do?
And probably I think I need to delete some useless data from the drive.
Okay. So if somebody is ready to sponsor another drive for you, then
Then definitely I'll store my
right. So what we are trying to say here, or trying to reach, is that if the data is huge, then we can distribute it to different devices or storage media, right? So
right.
I would say that the solution to this is distributed system, right? So if you look at now one image which popped up on my screen, it is a rough sketch of distributed system, right? So distributed system, we are talking about when data is huge, we distribute it in different devices or different nodes. You want to deal with data growth, then again distributed system can help. If you want to process big data in timely manner, then it is better to divide it into chunks and then let it, uh, you know, uh, be processed on multiple uh, nodes, right? For example, you have got, say, 40, 50 guests in your house, and you don't want to hire a caterer and you want to cook on your own at home, then what will you do, right? If you have this situation, then what will you do? You want to make say chapatis for so many people, then what will you do? You don't have big utensils, you don't have uh, you know uh, utensils for catering to that many people, right? So, will you make or use the distribution method, like say you would cook the vegetable in four different vessels, right? So that means you're distributing. Probably four people are cooking, okay? Or can I say that potluck, which we do, that is actually a distributed system, right, of cooking? Yeah. So same thing is used in for big data to handle all the challenges, right? Okay, and is it cost effective? Big question.
Yes, Sandra, I believe it is.
Well, you agreed to buy this another hard drive or external hard drive only when I was ready to sponsor.
Yes.
So still you will say that it's cost effective? Good. It's a big question mark for us, right? So
Right.
yes, it is cost effective, right? And answer to this is Hadoop framework, right? So it deals with all big data challenges which are listed on the top. Okay. Now, cost, why it is cost effective? Because have you heard the word commodity devices?
No.
Right. This is when you're reading something about Hadoop framework, you might come across this word. So commodity devices is basically the common devices which we are using, right? Like your laptop, my laptop is a commodity device, and we can set up the Hadoop framework here only and deal with all the problems on the top, right? So in the duration of the course, you'd be learning about all the things and understanding how it works. But you know, all these challenges are handled by Hadoop because it's an open source, right? It's free of cost, okay, and it deals with store. It has got internal storage also. It has got processing tools also. It has got capacity to handle the processing in timely manner, right? And it integrates the different data sources and then can make or simplify the processing, right? So the complex processing becomes easy to handle, right? And then as it's an open source and commodity devices are used on it, then it is not so costly also, right? As it is open source. Okay, so
Right.
are we okay till here?
Yes.
Right. So now we have understood what is big data, what are the challenges, and what makes data big data, its characteristics, and all, and have understood what are different challenges, and also understood that Hadoop framework actually is the answer to all the challenges. Now, I have discussed a few, right? But these are these are the listed characteristics of Hadoop, which actually make Hadoop the solution to BD challenges, or it's an answer to all. So, as I discussed, it's an open source framework, and Apache Foundation has provided it to us. Then it is capable of processing large amount of data, right? We would be talking about heterogeneous data a little later, but we already know that we're talking about variety of data. Okay, then in distributed this is very important. It is capable of processing large amount of data sets in distributed fashion across clusters of commodity computers and hardware using simplified programming model, right? So just now I talked about this. Then it provides a reliable shared storage and analysis system. I have not listed the security of the data, right? In the challenges, security is also one, because when you have huge data, it becomes difficult sometimes to secure the data, right? So this handles, Hadoop handles the security also. Then is highly scalable linearly, and a Hadoop cluster can contain tens and hundreds or even thousands of servers. So it means that with the increase or decrease in data, it adjusts its capacity, right? So it's like that. It's a typical cloud technology. Like if you are using, if your data is 10 GB, then it will be picking up 10 GB only. If it is 15 GB, it's taking 15 GB, right? So as you need, it gives you or adds or it keeps scaling, right? Now it is very cost effective as it can work with commodity hardware and does not require expensive high end hardware, right? Then it is highly flexible. It can process both structure and unstructured data. Then, of course, I need not say semi structured data as well. Then it has built-in fault tolerance. It is really important that it has to be fault tolerance because the data is distributed. Like we talked about the distributed system, if one node, right, is not working or there is some fault, then Hadoop has a system where it keeps the backup and can handle the this kind of a challenge on its own. And this is what we call that it has got built-in fault tolerance, right? It can handle faults within itself. Then data is replicated across, this is like how it handles that. Data is replicated across multiple nodes, and if a node goes down, the required data can be read from another node, right? This is how it works and can handle all this. Now, Hadoop works on the principle of write once and read multiple times, which we call worm, right? So if once the data is written on Hadoop, you can read it multiple times to process or reprocess or process differently. Hadoop is optimized for large and very large data sets. For instance, a small amount of data like 10 MB, when fed to Hadoop, it will not work properly, right? So it's huge. It is meant for huge data. So if you are trying to give a small data to Hadoop, it is going to take more time, right? Right? You understand what we are trying to say here, right? So it is a misfit for small data. Okay. Any questions on the screen, Nitin?
No, sir.
Okay. So you have not asked me any question till now. So I'm sure you're not sleeping after breakfast.
Of course, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nitin. We are about to we are about to complete the session. So as I said that we would be doing introduction to big data in detail. And I will just show you one image here, which is high level architecture, right, of Hadoop. So if you look at it, it has got uh, HDFC at the bottom, right? Sorry, it is HDFS. I'm thinking of a bank, right? It is Hadoop data file, distributed file structure, right? Or system. So, this is one part of Hadoop, and then MapReduce is a very core tool or is very core element of Hadoop, which we would be, talking in details in our coming classes. And then if you look at the structure, you will see that you have got one master on the top, and then you have workers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and can be n number of workers. So if you can relate it to the distributed system which I showed here, right? Then you can, easily relate it to the one now as high level is in front of you. So one part is used for storage on each computer, and one part of the computer is for computing data, right? And then master is the master which finally collates everything, and and then then all these things, they actually work in collaborative fashion. So we would be talking about this architecture in more details. But then I also want to show you the ecosystem of Hadoop, which we would really talk. Yeah.
In the last screen, where is that map, that HDFS and map reduce is used in this architecture?
Okay. Look at this.
Okay.
Right. So when data comes to Hadoop, then it comes to Hadoop distributed file system. Okay. Then there are other tools which take over, right? And MapReduce is the main uh, source of data processing, actually, right? And if you look at other tools, then they work in they have different tasks to do. Okay. Now if you look at Flume here, right? Flume is one tool. Its job is to collect the data. Okay. If you look at Scoop, when that is collecting data, but both of them collect different types of data. If you look at the tool Zookeeper, its job is coordination, right? So it coordinates between different tools. If you look at Ambari, then it is management and monitoring of the data, right? And the processing as well. If you talk about Uzi, its job is the workflow, right? So in the course content, I have listed all these tools, right? And I told you that we will be talking about them in detail in our course, right? But overall, if you look at the Hadoop ecosystem, then HDFC is keeping the files, right? Data files, and then all other are actually have got some or the other responsibility or the role in the complete ecosystem to support Hadoop to provide you the processing and the required required stuff or output. Okay, so it looks beautiful and looks complicated, but one by one we will pick all these tools, and then we'll actually appreciate Hadoop tools and its ecosystem, right? So so I think over the course, I'll be able to answer, or you'll be getting all the answers to all the questions which might be cropping in your mind now, right, about these tools. And uh, if we are okay, then I'll go to the next slide.
Yes, sir.
All right. So it's a question and answer time. Do you have any question for me?
No, sir.
Silence means not at the moment, right? Okay. After the session, if you have any question, you're free to, free to send me an email or WhatsApp. You already have my number. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you the question, and the answer is already there. But I want you to think and answer. What do you understand by the term big data now?
Now I understand that Sanjay, when the data is used and a large amount of data, that is called big data.
Okay, so big data in itself is a field. This is first point, right? And three V's, right, make big data big data. Okay, so what are those three V's?
Sorry.
I'm saying that there are some V's which make
Yeah.
data big data. So can you list those three V's to me?
Yes, Sanjay. These are volume, the quantum of
Okay.
data, velocity,
Okay.
yeah, and
Variety.
variety of data, type of data. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Right.
and
So
there is
let's
one more we that I
the
forgot.
fourth V. Yeah. So that is veracity.
Right.
That is how data is complete, or whether it's authenticated, if it has got some noise or biasness, right? So that is one V which was added. But if you are able to list three V's, it is fine. Then these three V's or four V's actually um, are connected with the fifth V, which is value, right? So when together something is done on this, they actually bring some value to the business. Okay. Next question is, how is big data useful for businesses? Sorry. Yeah. Can you tell me?
Yes. Big data basically when we analyze the data and make some decisions based on the data, so it helps us to make uh, uh, decisions, good decisions for business development.
Right. So, if I have to summarize it, then I would say that big data helps organizations understand their customers better, means making smart decisions by allowing them to draw conclusions from large data sets collected over the years. It helps them make better decisions or smart decisions, right? Let's look at the third one. We've already talked about this. The four V's, you've already told me that in question number one only, right? Right. How is Hadoop related to big data?
So big data is used to handle large numbers of data and different types of data.
Right. So it handles all the challenges of big data. Or one liner, Hadoop is a framework that specializes in big data operations, right? Okay. How many modes can Hadoop be run in? We have not talked about this, which we would be talking, but then I can show you the answer. One is standalone mode, other one is pseudo distributed mode, and fully distributed mode. So we will be talking about it in coming classes, right? So I think we are done.
Okay.
So we can call it a demo session for today. Okay. So I hope you're comfortable in the class today. Then you can talk to Manish for the schedule. Okay. All right.
Okay, Sanjay, thank you.
Have a great weekend. Thank you for coming for the session. Right. Bye.
Thanks.
Okay.